Though we are undoubtedly living in a fantastic time for cinema, not every movie sticks the landing when it comes to its overall quality. Whether it's down to a severe lack of clear direction, franchise fatigue, or just a painfully bad idea, many of us have been forced to sit through our fair share of high-profile duds in the last couple of years. However, even in the most rotten of features, a slice of cinematic gold can often be found. Sure, these pictures won't be popping up in many greatest films of all time lists, but not every scene made you feel like clawing out your eyes and shoving your head into a popcorn box. Some were actually pretty darn good. I'm Gareth from WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 brilliant moments in terrible recent films. Number 10. Hellboy rides a dragon, Hellboy. After just over a decade of waiting, Hellboy fans finally got their wish in 2019. Sort of. The big red badass would now be able to let rip like only he knew how in a full-blown rated R feature. Yet, despite the increase in violence, gore, and bad language, this reboot suffered from disastrously bad CGI effects and a seriously weak plot. However, David Harbour's performance as Anung Unrama was widely celebrated, and as you'd expect, he was at the center of undoubtedly the greatest moment in this blazing ball of badness. Moments after Merlin informs Hellboy that he is in fact the destroyer of all things, the half-human, half-demon takes hold of the legendary sword Excalibur. Hellboy then sees exactly what he is capable of in a vision. Riding a goddamn demon dragon and wielding a blazing Excalibur, a fully horned Hellboy is shown massacring the human race and, well, destroying all things. Though the rest of this film is definitely a demonic dud, it's hard not to salute the sight of everyone's favorite foul-mouthed paranormal investigator embracing his hellish roots on the big screen. Number 9. Monsters Appear, Godzilla King of the Monsters. You could argue that Godzilla King of the Monsters did exactly what it said on the tin. The trailers promised a variety of the big lizard's famous rivals such as Rodan, Mothra, and King Ghidorah. And that's exactly what we got in the monstrous sequel to 2014's Godzilla. Unfortunately, monsters aside, the rest of the flick was taken up by annoying human drama, which consistently took the wind out of this potentially epic MonsterVerse entry. Thankfully, the reveals of the beloved beast throughout the feature remind you exactly why you bothered to sit down and watch this monster mash in the first place. Not to be outdone by his co-stars, Big Zilla's reboot also leads to one of the mightiest pieces of imagery in the entire series, when the titular beast fires off his atomic breath into the sky. King of the Monsters was by no means perfect, but it gave us the spine-tingling grand entrances each of these titanic characters definitely deserved. Number 8. Motorball Alita Battle Angel. Alita Battle Angel may not boast a seriously compelling narrative or bring out the best in its seriously star-studded cast, but there are a few moments which make the Iron City experience worthwhile. Early in the flick, Alita is introduced to the popular racing sport known as motorball. Sensing she may be good enough to compete and earn the prize money to send Hugo to Zalem, she eventually enters a tryout race against a group of baddies all focused on putting her out of commission. The ensuing high-speed battle showcases what Alita's berserker body is truly capable of, as she picks off each of her dastardly opponents with clinical attacks and jaw-dropping agility. Much of the film's dialogue may have sent the wrong kind of shivers up your spine, but this heart-stopping death race was absolutely worth the price of admission alone. Number 7. Train Battle Dark Phoenix. Dark Phoenix was not what you'd call a memorable film. In fact, you could make a serious argument for it being the outright worst X-Men entry to date, and you'd probably be bang on the money. Despite containing an A-list superhero cast which would make even the mighty MCU a little jealous, James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, Jennifer Lawrence, Jessica Chastain, and many others were all criminally wasted in this excruciatingly poor interpretation of one of the most beloved storylines in comic book history. Yet there was one glimmer of awesomeness in this turd of a flick, in the form of the final battle on a moving train. As the vessel is attacked by Vuk and her pals, the X-Men unite and fight off the Debari in a mutant power showcase for the ages. The fact this scene was actually shot as a last-minute change, due to the original space battle ending being too similar to another superhero film released that year, probably explains why it feels so different to the rest of the snooze fest we sat through leading up to it. Number 6. Grindelwald Escapes Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. sitting at the very bottom of the Wizarding World rankings when it comes to overall quality and box office earnings. Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald didn't leave too many people jumping for joy once the final credits began to roll. Lacking much of the prior film's sense of fun and wonder, this dull sequel felt like nothing more than a piece of forgetful filler on the road to the highly anticipated showdown between Jude Law's Albus Dumbledore and Johnny Depp's Gellert Grindelwald. However, there was still hope at the very beginning of this unmagical movie. The scene which reintroduces us to the sinister dark wizard Grindelwald demonstrated exactly what a wizarding adventure should be all about. As the magical Congress of the United States of America attempts to transport the blonde-haired fiend over to Europe via Thestrals to answer for his crimes, it's revealed that Grindelwald switched places with another wizard known as Abernathy thanks to a spot of human transfiguration. Using the mighty Elder Wand, Grindelwald dramatically takes down those trying to bring him to justice by transforming ropes into snakes and flooding the carriage flying high through the air. Spectacular action, intriguing twists, and more dark magic than you can shake a wand at. It's just a shame the rest of the movie paled in comparison. Number 5, The Horde meets Dr. Staple. Glass. People were understandably a little excited about the prospect of Kevin Wendell Crumb, David Dunn, and Elijah Price all sharing the screen together in M. Night Shyamalan's trilogy-ending superhero thriller Glass. However, what eventually landed on our screens in 2019 was anything but super, and failed to build on the success of both Unbreakable and Split. That being said, the film was still able to show off McAvoy's unbelievable acting chops once again, as he struggled internally with Crumb's 24 alternate personalities. This mesmerizing conflict is front and center when the film's main antagonist, Dr. Ellie Staple, is met with a collection of distinct characters during one of her visits to Crumb. McAvoy switches gears magnificently from Mr. Pritchard, a professor of cinema, to Hedwig, a 9-year-old hyperactive boy, to a Spanish-speaking woman, back to Hedwig, and finally lands on the chilling Miss Patricia, all in one scene. In the moments where McAvoy is allowed to bring each of these highly detailed voices to life, Glass becomes a whole lot more than the boring waste of time it generally is. Number 4, The Cavalry Arrives. Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. Throughout the hit-and-miss Star Wars sequel trilogy, there have been a number of attempts to recreate the same feeling most fans felt when they first laid eyes on the galaxy far, far away. The Rise of Skywalker definitely doubled down on these nostalgic moments, but that still couldn't save it from ultimately being a massively underwhelming conclusion to a saga 40+ years in the making. Thankfully, there was one moment of pure nostalgic joy in the film's final battle which genuinely worked a treat. As Poe Dameron's Resistance fleet look all but done for, General Lando Calrissian arrives to save the day with a grand squad of ships from all across the galaxy. Lando's signature chuckle combined with the sensational original Star Wars theme makes for one of the most satisfying moments in all of this frustratingly inconsistent series. Number 3, The Lobster Moment. Venom. Sony's attempt to bring Venom to the big screen didn't exactly set the world on fire. Some of the CGI felt a bit cheap, and both Riz Ahmed and Michelle Williams were basically wasted as a mustache-twiddling villain and Eddie Brock's ex-fiancée Anne Weying, respectively. However, whenever Tom Hardy's Brock and his new symbiote Venom found themselves squabbling through a scene, the film seemed to take flight. This chaotic chemistry was on show during arguably the most memorable part of the flick, as Venom begins to hijack his host in the middle of a crowded restaurant. While Brock is frantically trying to explain what has happened to him to Weying, Venom manipulates him into grabbing other people's food before coming down with a sudden fever. Brock/Venom then cools off in a lobster pool and chomps down on a live crustacean. Hardy is in his absolute element here, grunting and flying through the scene like a madman, all while demonstrating exactly how little control Eddie has over the insane situation. More of this, please. Number 2, Bike Fight. Gemini Man. In order to make audiences fully believe in the story being told in 2019's Gemini Man, that of a man taking on a younger, cloned version of himself, the digital de-aging of the film's lead character Henry Brogan had to be deeply convincing. Yet many of the finished visuals here ended up looking like the sort of animation you'd see in a video game cutscene. This, combined with a deeply generic plot, made Gemini Man yet another failure of an action feature starring Will Smith. Not every scene in this clone war makes you wish you'd fallen asleep mid-film though. In fact, the moment Brogan faces off against his younger self for the very first time is actually a surprisingly enthralling clash of old and new. While the older Brogan attempts to outsmart the clone, the younger version uses his unmatched athleticism and speed to get the upper hand. Things then get taken up a notch when the pair begin to race through the streets on motorcycles. Then, just as the younger Brogan looks to be in full control after sending his bike flying towards his target, the police arrive and the clone flees. If the rest of Gemini Man had been even half as exciting as this Brogan versus Brogan battle, Smith could have been onto a serious winner here. Sadly, everything before and after this exchange was about as forgetful as it gets. Number 1. Indoraptor Unleashed, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. In short, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom simply spent way too much time introducing new cartoonish villains and terrible subplots involving human cloning when it should have been focusing on the reason we bought a ticket to the film in the first place. You know, those dinosaur things? For the most part, these prehistoric marvels are forced into cages, seen running away from volcanic explosions, or on screen for about as much time as Jeff Goldblum. Looking at you, Mosasaurus. However, there is one silver lining in this dark cloud of a Jurassic disaster, and it comes in the form of the genetically altered Indoraptor. Tricking Ken Wheatley, one of the aforementioned cartoon baddies, into thinking it was legitimately sedated, the Indoraptor quickly tears off the mercenary's arm. It then gets up close and personal with him before finishing the job and beginning its night of terror. This may not even come close to some of the series' other suspense-filled moments involving raptors, but the sight of a practically made Indoraptor honing in on its kill was easily one of the most enjoyable parts of the otherwise inferior sequel, regardless of the fact it was yet another genetically modified dino. And that's our list. Know of any other brilliant moments in terrible recent films? Let us know all about them in the comment section below, and do not forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button. Also, be sure to head on over to whatculture.com and click on some more brilliant articles just like the one this video is based on. I've been Gareth from whatculture.com. Thank you very much for watching today, and I'm sure I'll see you very, very soon.